Sometimes, life holds moments that defy explanation. They creep into the ordinary, shattering the illusion of normalcy, leaving us with questions that linger like shadows. What I'm about to share is not a story, but a real experience that forever changed the way I see the world. As you read this account, you might feel the chill of the unknown seeping into your own life. If you've ever had an encounter with the unexplained, you'll understand. And if you haven't, perhaps this tale will make you reconsider what's possible. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this story with others who seek the eerie and unexplained. Now, let's begin. It began as a peaceful retreat. A large, secluded house surrounded by whispering trees and distant hills, perfect for our small family. Each evening, my wife would take our daughter upstairs for her bath and bedtime ritual, while I stayed downstairs, savoring a couple of quiet hours on my laptop. For 3 years, the routine was unbroken, our lives calm and uneventful. Then, one chilly November evening, the ordinary cracked open, revealing something darker. It started innocuously enough. My wife and daughter had gone upstairs, and I was absorbed in my laptop. Suddenly, the room grew unnaturally cold, as if the warmth had been sucked out of the air. A shiver ran down my spine, the kind that feels alive with its own malevolent intent. The silence grew oppressive, and an unsettling awareness crawled over me. Someone, or something, was standing directly behind me, staring at the back of my head. I tried to turn, to confirm my fear, but my body betrayed me. Paralyzed, I sat frozen as minutes stretched into eternity. My mind raced, conjuring explanations that flitted between the rational and the absurd. Then, just as suddenly as it had descended, the cold lifted. My muscles loosened, and I spun around. The room was empty, the shadows undisturbed. I told myself it was nothing, a trick of my tired mind. But that night, sleep evaded me, and I lay awake, haunted by the memory. The next evening, it happened again. The chill seeped into my bones, the unseen presence rooted me to the spot, and my heart pounded against my ribs like a drum of dread. Again, it passed without incident, leaving me shaken but unharmed. For the next 2 nights, the same sequence unfolded. Each time, I told myself it was stress, imagination, or some odd quirk of the old house. But on the 4th night, something changed. Instead of retreating into my usual laptop routine, I opted to watch TV from the sofa, positioning myself to see the entire living room. The cold came as expected, creeping in like a shadow. This time, it wasn't an invisible force that haunted me. From the corner of my eye, I saw her. She was a translucent figure of a little girl, perhaps 6 or 7 years old, with long blonde hair that shimmered faintly in the dim light. Dressed in nightclothes, she stood still, her gaze fixed on the room as though searching for something or someone. My breath hitched, and for a moment, I thought it was my daughter. But no, my daughter's hair was dark brown, and she was sound asleep upstairs. This was someone else. The girl didn't move for what felt like minutes. Then, without a sound, she turned and walked down the hallway, her figure fading as she disappeared into the kitchen. The air grew still, the cold dissipated, and I was left alone with my racing thoughts. I didn't tell my wife. How could I? The rational part of me wanted to dismiss it as a hallucination, but deep down, I knew it was something more. That night, my dreams were restless, filled with fleeting images of the little girl and the unspoken sorrow in her eyes. The following evening, she appeared again. This time, I watched her more closely. Her movements were deliberate yet ethereal, as if she existed in 2 worlds at once. She paused in the same spot, staring into the room before gliding silently down the hall. And once again, she vanished. Morning came, and I could no longer keep the secret. Over breakfast, I hesitated, then told my wife, "There's something I need to talk to you about." Before I could elaborate, her eyes widened. "Is it about the little girl?" she asked. Her words sent a chill through me. "You've seen her?" "Yes," she said quietly. "She's been here for months. I've told her she's welcome as long as she doesn't cause trouble." The weight of her confession was both comforting and unnerving. I wasn't losing my mind, but the reality of our situation was far more unsettling than I imagined. My wife, Eva the spiritual one, suggested that we pray for the girl and invite her to move on to the next life. She's lost, she said. Maybe she's looking for something or someone. That evening, we performed a small ritual, lighting candles and saying prayers for the little girl. We told her it was okay to leave, that she didn't have to stay here anymore. Whether it was our words or something else, the house felt lighter afterward. We never saw her again. But the story doesn't end there. 6 months later, my work contract ended and we prepared to move out. On our last day, the landlord came by to finalize the paperwork. As we chatted, he mentioned in passing that we were his longest tenants. Most people don't stay more than a few months, he said with a wry smile. I joked, maybe it's because the house is haunted. His smile faltered. What do you mean? I recounted our experiences with the little girl, expecting him to laugh it off. Instead, his face grew pale and he looked down at his hands. You saw her too, he whispered. The room seemed to hold its breath as he explained. He had built the house for his young family years ago. His youngest daughter, just 6 years old at the time, had a tragic accident. One night, she climbed over the upstairs railing and fell to her death on the stone floor below. The family, unable to bear the loss, moved out and rented the house rather than selling it. His wife had refused to set foot in the house again up until her own passing the previous November. The timing struck us like a thunderclap. It was November when we first began to see the girl. My wife and I exchanged a look, the same thought reflected in both our minds. Had the little girl's spirit lingered all those years, waiting for her mother? And had our prayers helped them reunite and find peace? As we drove away from the house for the last time, a strange mix of sorrow and relief filled my heart. We had stumbled into a story much larger than ourselves, one that blurred the lines between the living and the dead. If you enjoyed this chilling tale and want more spine-tingling stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share with those who crave the eerie and unexplained. Who knows what mysteries might await in the next story, or in the shadows of your own home?